Hi everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. I thought that we would pull a few cards today, but let's start with. Hold on, I gotta stare at that dot. It's a little uncomfortable. But anyways, so let's play my singing bowl. Kind of clear the air. You see my nice. I haven't hung it up yet. It's not in the office. I'm waiting for my son to get the hell out of his room so I can make that my office. But until then, I have this picture out here. But this is what my sister Jenny gave me. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's the constellation. So it has like all the astrological information on it, the star system. I mean, just it literally has things on it that I don't even know what they are yet. So I mean, it's amazing. It's beautiful. She's my heart. I love my sister so much. My sister, I love her. But that's what she gave me. And it lights up and it glows in the dark too. So it's really neat. I can't wait to have it hanging up and actually know what all this stuff means. It just has a map of the universe. I mean, it has everything that you could possibly think about on it. So as I learn more and more about the vastness of what's going on with this whole ascension process and where that's taking us, I get to learn from this. So it's pretty incredible. So thank you, Jennifer Parker. You're the best. All right, so let's play. This is for Jenny. We're going to play the bowl for Jenny. Hopefully it plays, Jenny, or otherwise that's not a good sign for you. Someone take a deep breath in. Hold it for 5 seconds. And then release. Do that 3 times in a row as I'm getting ready. You should try to do that every day. A way of being mindful of your breath and just kind of watching it. As it enters your body, feel it down into the pit of your belly where your solar plexus is. Hold it and then release and have all of the things that bring you fear or worry or discomfort released back to the universe. For the universe then to decide what to do with it. It's no longer yours. It no longer belongs to you. You've released it. You let it go. So practicing doing that every single day and saying whatever words that make sense to you. But basically telling yourself that it's okay to let go. There are things that are changing not only in the world but in your life, and relationships are changing. And some of these changes are going to be difficult because of just habit and things that you're used to, or maybe you're afraid to venture out or to take a risk. I just encourage you to use some mindfulness during the day and get yourself centered, and then ask yourself the question as to what it is that your soul would like you to work on for the day, and stay present in what you're doing, versus looking out into the future, the end of the year, next year. And that's not to say that you can't plan that or you can't think about how that will look. But I encourage you to stay as present as possible, as this year there's going to be a lot of changes, and so maybe some plans that you're making for next year aren't necessarily going to even be possible. So that's why another reason to stay present. Okay, well, I told you I was going to get organized, and well, that didn't happen. I'm working on it though. I'm trying my hardest. But let's see if I can. Ouch. Oh, I'm getting old. I can't even sit crisscross applesauce anymore. I guess this morning I was really channeling just thoughts about what the experience of being a divine masculine is, because this whole masculine toxicity, and it's not to say that there isn't a power indifference, that there isn't a power privilege with being what we would call male, but more of a masculine. But on the flip side, I guess that's what Spirit really brought me to today, is one of the things that I'm very passionate about is masculine issues. I know in my baby book, my mom, had this thing where you write down, your favorite toys or whatever, and then I think it got to be like 11 or 12, and my mom just said boys, and she just got boys. Well, I kind of like boys, but I come to find out that I care deeply for the masculine side of the population, as it resonates with me, and I was brought up with two brothers that really struggled. They had all the ingredients to be masterful at whatever it is that they chose to want to do. However, there were things that definitely got in the way for them, and things that, whether it's about, being a father and not being together with the mother of the children, and having to fight to be present in their children's lives, and gave up an awful lot to be present in their children's life. And I think that we don't spend enough time focusing on just the struggles that it to be a man, to be of the masculine energy. That it's not all privilege, it's not all great things. And so Spirit was talking about how, we have a tendency to think about creativity as more of like the arts, whether it's music or it's painting or it's drawing or it's writing or it's poetry. But Spirit was drawing into the idea that contact sports are an art. And it's a way that, our masculines are raised to be competitive. I mean, if you think about it at a very, very just right straight out of the womb, they're playing with footballs and balls and, all sorts of different things that would lead to like some type of competition or sport or event or mastery. Even like, army men and guns and, things that we kind of, we just think of it as boys being boys, but those send very clear messages as to what it is that boy is supposed to be like. Even we talk about masculine or male toxicity, but in truth, we oppress. We as a society, we oppress the male emotional body, and then expect them to respond emotionally to the feminine, or just human beings in general. We expect them to respond responsibly emotionally, when we don't really give them a whole lot of opportunities to develop that piece of them or that part of who they are, that expression of their humanness. By no means even close to what, as a feminine, I was brought up to be like. And again, you know what, there's an upside and a downside to that for feminines as well. But I guess, you know, Spirit was just trying to bring in this understanding that, you know, there's a lot of things that we think about, you know, you hear about, you know, a feminine for the economy. And granted, yes, that probably, and that will serve a very positive purpose, but we have a tendency to think about feminine as in female. And the feminine for the economy really means about drawing in, because if we have both energies, we have masculine energy and feminine energy. It's drawing in, regardless of what sex you are, drawing in on the feminine nature of you and trying to use that energy to create more stability, to create more care and concern, compassion. So I guess that's one of the things when you think about the ascension process is really about a healing. It's about healing your soul, healing past experiences, healing trauma genetically that's been passed down, that's karmic. So it's really about healing. And to be able to do that, we need to recognize that no matter where you fall on the continuum of power and control, or supposed to have it all in the palm of your hand, or whatever it may look like, there's always a flip side to the situation. There's always, and if we're trying to come into this with an understanding for those around us, our brothers and sisters, that they're trying their best. And that doesn't mean if someone is doing horribly that you have to be in their space, because you know what, maybe their vibration is very different from yours and you just naturally wouldn't be drawn to that person anymore anyways. But at the same time, recognizing that it's important to have compassion, because there are things that soul is trying to learn. I mean, if there's a hyper masculine quality to the masculine that we're talking about, or that we're taking a peek at, there's a hyper masculine quality to it, because the undertone of that is that if this child is brought up to think, you know what, you need to be a provider, you need to be a protector, so that means you can't be afraid, that means that you can't fail, you have all these responsibilities of taking care, and maybe that soul is damaged in the sense that it doesn't really know how to take care of even him or herself. And so now they're jolted into this arena that not only do they have to figure it out and not fail at it, but they have to take care of 8 other people along with it. Just the idea of oppressing emotion, not even having developed emotion, because it's not practiced. You know, that's not what they practice on the playground, is emotion. It's suck it up and do the job. But when it does come up, they're strongly influenced to oppress it. And then we as a society can't understand why we have a lot of rageful masculines. And I can only speak of, you know, here in the States, but just in general. I mean, you know, that's a tough position to be in. So again, that doesn't excuse ugly behavior by any means, but I think, you know, this whole idea of healing is about forgiveness and understanding that forgiveness really is for yourself. And what you do when you forgive is you release that energy, and it's no longer attached to you, and you move along with your life, whether you choose to have that person in it or not. And again, this understanding that as the earth ascends, we're moving to different elevations within our vibration. So people that are not a match or in similar space as us will just naturally fall off. So again, this is not saying that you have to forgive everyone for every horrible thing that they've done to you and then be chums with them. No, you're forgiving for yourself to release and let go. You're forgiving for yourself because you're fighting past your own ignorance, and you're understanding that there's a reason that people act a certain way. It's not just because they're just wicked. You know, again, going back to this idea of working in the prison system for, you know, 12, 13, 14 years, however long it was, you know, I worked with a lot of men, and I worked in a supermax prison. So we're not talking about they just, you know, stole the sucker down at the corner store. But I literally, I can count on one hand how many people that I came in contact with that I really thought, whoa, that's darkness. I think 3 people out of thousands of men that I served. And so, I mean, I guess that's just the only reason I'm bringing that up is to kind of demonstrate that people are naturally good. They just may have some pretty ugly behavior. And their behavior is very ugly because they're very shame-based. And their inability to work through their own stuff ends up projecting out on us. So this is really a time to understand, because again, if you're more understanding, and that doesn't mean you put up with whatever they're doing, but you're more understanding of where the root, what's the cause of that, that puts out a different vibration. It doesn't support the vibration of shame. And that's what we're trying to do, is not support our vibration of shame and not support the environment, Mother Earth's vibration of shame. We want to bring that up into some understanding, and by just releasing, saying, you know what, that's not someone that I'm going to spend my time around. I don't feel comfortable with it, but I'm also not going to stand here and judge. So it's taking on this idea of having a non-judgmental stance, and then just going along your merry way. Or if you're someone that is a light worker, someone that your mission is helping people heal, then there's some antennas, some feelers that are going on that could potentially draw you in that direction or be supportive in some other manner. But so yeah, that's kind of what Spirit was talking with me about. It was giving me more specific stuff to my personal experience, but it's just a reminder. It's just a reminder about forgiveness, being solely for ourselves. But at the same time, when we do that, it doesn't touch in on our own shame, so our vibration doesn't move into that 38. As well as because we ripple affect everything, our vibration is not affecting Mother Gaia in a negative way. And if you're watching this, then I would assume that that's something of interest to you. And if it's not of interest to you, then, you know, let it go. Go in one ear and right out the other. You get to choose what you want to do with it, if it means anything to you, if it doesn't. But okay, so I don't know. I wonder if I should turn this music down a little bit, but hopefully you guys can hear me. Anyways, so let me take a drink. I'm drinking a Red Bull, and you can tell it's a big one too. So don't tell my son I'm not supposed to drink these. All right, we're going to read from Sacred Rebels. I love this deck because it really. One of the things that I'm working to come into is Hecate or Hectate. I don't know. There's some goddess of the crossroads that I'm kind of being aligned with, where you it doesn't really matter like what religion you follow. There's a entity that is similar to this 3-person, you know, whether it's Greek mythology, whether it's Wicca, whether it's even in Christianity, whether it's, you know, Buddhism, Hinduism. I mean, it runs into really all religious. What's the word I'm looking for? There's a storyline for it, but it's basically being mother, maiden, and crone, and it's having 3 parts to who we are. We have an ancient part that's part of the universe, and that's what communicates with us through our crown. We have a mother part, which is the soul, the purpose that draws us on a daily basis, how we perform, how we run our lives. And then we have a maiden, which is more of like a child or a younger version of who we are, that really you think about more of like ego, but at the same time coming to this understanding that ego is really there to help us. It's just very immature and needs training. It needs education. And that's the whole point. I guess that's the other thing that Spirit was talking with me about today, is that, you know, this whole idea of ascension and understanding that we're a co-creator, understanding that we are creation, we are source, is getting in the fifth dimension, that our ego will flip out and our higher self will come into that. And then so instead of our higher self training us in these bodies to, you know, mature up our ego, it's going to be the reverse, where our ego will be up there kind of checking us out, and our higher self and our soul, our humanness, are going to be co-creating together, and teaching our ego differently, because what's worked such far has not been the best setup, where we have the ego running the show. It's better to have the higher self running the show. So that's part of the process of the switch over, going to the fifth dimension. I don't know if that made sense, but anyways, that's the best I can describe it right now. So let's go ahead and pull. We're going to pull 4 cards. We're going to pull a card for what are you thinking, what are you feeling, the blockage, and what's your wishes, and what Spirit has to say about that. So just gonna get the cards out here. First I'm gonna shuffle. Getting a little bit better at shuffling. Well, no, maybe I'm not really. That was a lie. I like to tell myself that. But you know what I noticed with my hand, I can do a couple things again. Like, I don't know, like button my bra. I mean, you know, it took me 2 months to be able to do that. That sucks. It made me think about, you know what, there are a lot of people that are missing a limb and that don't have a limb, and man, just some basic stupid things like going to the bathroom and pulling your pants back up, or snapping your bra, or putting a ponytail in your hair. I mean, you know what? I give credit to people learning how to adjust when they have some differences to their bodies. So gotta appreciate that I still have this hand on there, that they were able to fix that, put that sucker back on. Not everyone's so fortunate with that. But I've had like quite a few. My spine actually snapped off too, so they had to bolt that right on down to my pelvic and put a cadaver bone and fuse it. So I've had some surgeries, I'm telling you. You're like, what's Jesus trying to teach me about that? I don't know, but I don't want to know those lessons. I'm sick of those lessons. All right, enough. Let's go ahead and, oh, I hear my dog. I hope he doesn't come up, because you know he's going to come over here and just bug me, because that's what that dog does. He is a bugaboo. Okay, so we're going to do this one. This one. This one. We got one more. So I'm thinking Spirit wants me to take that one. Okay, perfect. So let's turn them all over so I can see them. Ooh, so 3 for inspiration, 6 for shock of the new. So we got 36 right there. And 36 to me is the road of correction, the road of love, the road of belonging, and how it went off path. But this is a time for correction. It's about rewriting or rerouting that highway, so it goes in the direction that you want it to go in. Nice. Okay, so thinking, what are you thinking right now? So they have is the card of 3, which is inspiration. And you can see this woman, she's got this, what looks almost like a beehive, because there's bees above her head, and bees are symbolic for like working. There's some information that's trying to get in there, because it's illuminated where her head is at. So that's spirit. but it's illuminated in a bright color, so that's like sunny. So it's like happiness. It's like coming into an understanding of who you are and maybe a purpose. Maybe Spirit is saying maybe the collective that it's speaking to has kind of felt like they've been off track for some time, and they're starting to feel like this excitement. You're starting to feel this excitement that, you know what, something's kind of brewing. Like you can feel like something's going to break through. There's some working bees going on somewhere around your head. Hopefully they're not stinging you up there either. They're just kind of, because the other thing is she's got these flowers in her hair, which means growth, which means a garden, beauty. You have something within you that's innately within you that's ready to break out. It's ready to come out. And that's why your thoughts, maybe you might have some anxiety because, you know, you're trying to break through some old patterns of thinking, or trying to break out of some old ways of being, whether it's work, whether it's relationships. But you're being asked to consider a new direction. You're being asked to go within and find out what's important to you. Is what you're doing important? Maybe it is. Are there adjustments that need to be made? And with those adjustments, are there things that need to fall off? But you know, how are you going to grow that garden? How are you going to get these bees working away at that beautiful hive that's on her head? But it's not a hive that they're going to go live in and sting up. It's a beautiful tapestry within her hair, because hair is like a symbol. Like that's the other thing that Spirit was talking with me this morning about, is that, you know, the funny thing is the coarser or the more messy, the more hard to handle hair that you have, the more your antennas for the universe, for spirit, the easier it is for you to pick up on. Which kind of makes sense, because you're thinking like, well, why are some people... I was always so jealous of this when I was growing up. I have super, super curly hair. And when it's short, it's really, really, really curly. And they didn't have the products that they have today that I could put into it. So it was just like, oh my gosh, it was terrible. I had some terrible hair. I'll be the first to tell you about that. I remember, you know, I didn't know what to do with it. But in the morning, I would take like a stocking cap, like a hunter's cap, and I would put it over my head and then take a blow dryer and blow dry. That way it would get straight right here, but then it'd be like, I don't know. It was terrible. It was terrible. Anyways, so what Spirit says is that, you know, these flowers in her hair, the more texture that she has for what is supposed to be her hair, the more connected she is into her garden, the more connected she is into the garden of the universe. So if you have hard to manage hair, understand that the plus side of that is that it's a great receptor to what Spirit wants to come in than if you had like really fine, silky, you know, soft hair. Like that's beautiful to look at, but the receptors aren't as strong as if you were to have maybe coarser, curlier, more full, messed up, colicky, whatever hair. It's easier for a spirit, for whatever reason, to be able to get in. So the inspiration, you have inspiration in your mind telling you that it's time to venture out and start something anew. If you have an idea, if you have some things that you've been kind of rolling around in your mind, it's time to take a risk. So let's see. An idea has captivated your attention, or it will very soon. It may be a grand vision or a vague sense of something that could be, but you're being encouraged to accept the vision, just like what we were talking about. Like, you know what? Take a risk, take a chance. It might be difficult to get it off the ground, but you know, you stick with it. It's kind of like if you believe in yourself and you follow it all the way through, Spirit is saying there will be reward, there will be success, but you have to follow it all the way through. You have to take that leap of faith and keep your nose to the grind and understand that there will be failures. You know, with anything new, it's about learning what works and what doesn't work and then adjusting. And if it's something that you're passionate about, you will stick with it. If anything, you know, too, you might find out that that isn't your cup of tea. And then another inspiration, another idea will start. A lot of this has to, you know, is vocational. They're talking about, because there's a lot of people that are coming into this idea that they feel like they have a mission of giving, a mission of doing, a mission of healing, a mission of leading, a mission of being a worker bee. So vocation is what's really coming really heavily, but the other thing that's coming into is, you know, an inspiration on how you treat and do you differently. That's the relationship that's focused on, not so much relationship with other people. But at the same time, Spirit is saying, as you improve yourself, kind of this idea of like what's going on with the twin flame revolution, is as you work on yourself, as you heal yourself, as you understand yourself, as you create and co-create for yourself, naturally that's what happens to you. Impact your twin in a very positive manner. And then again, it goes into kind of like this reciprocal infinity. It just keeps moving back and forth. So same thing goes for the environment. You know what you do for yourself, you do for the environment. What you do for yourself, you do for the earth. And Spirit is just encouraging you to think about that, and think about, like, if you ride out some negative emotion, you know, what have you done for yourself outside of just to make sure that you're cemented in that space. So if you really hate the way that feels, well, then do something about it. You have the power to change your reality, to change your expression in that moment. And again, that doesn't mean doing something that's not authentic, that's not genuine. You're not going to sit there and tell yourself a bunch of lies, because then that, what does that do? Nothing. But, excuse me. So I'm burping, so that must mean that there's a blocked throat chakra. So Spirit's trying to meet that, you know, if you feel like you're not being heard, it's time to figure out different ways to then be heard. And maybe you have to go about changing the way that, or the dynamic and how you communicate and how you express yourself. You have to change, not expect so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so to change. You alter the way you get heard, by how you present to yourself. And then you might find too that there's some people that just aren't going to hear it because they're not in a place to hear it. And that's something that you have to be willing to let roll off and move forward. When an inspiration comes from a greater creative intelligence of the universe, even when it makes itself known as an idea coming through a human source, all is needed to bring it into being is to be available for it at the right time. So it's really about the mindset that you have. Are you a receptor? Are you receiving? We have a pretty easy job of dishing out, giving out, whether it's, you know, positive or negative energy or positive or negative polarity. We have as human beings a really easy time, you know, pushing out. We have a much harder time receiving, even when we feel like, well, I want to receive. I would like people to treat me differently or do these things for me or provide me with